All right, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Big Doug and Carmi Show, your one-stop shop for all things Commanders. It's an Inside the Command Center Friday. Get you a little bit closer to the action. To do that, we invite our good buddy Kevin Sheehan back to the show. Kev, what's happening, man?
What's up, boys? How you doing?
We're playing winning football late in the year. It doesn't feel like reality. Um, we've had the I guess we had the discussion a couple of weeks ago, Kevin, before that Cowboys game, and it was like it feels like the team's not built to get the rug swept from under them, or maybe us as fans. And I remember I had Michael Phillips on right before that game, and I said, "How do we know it's not too good to be true?" And he said, "Man, you can just feel it." And then it just the inevitable happened, but it does feel like this team is different than teams that have got us excited in the past.
No doubt. It definitely feels different. I mean, you just start with the fact that we've been on this ride all year with a good team that's had a good record, that's been in playoff position all year. Like, even if you go back, um, you know, after the glory days, right? And you count those years in which they made the playoffs or they barely missed. They were all late season runs after bad
Absolutely.
starts. They were
Mhm.
unexpected. I mean, the only teams like 99 was okay with Brad Johnson all season long. 2016, when they didn't make it, that team was pretty good for much of the year. You thought it was kind of a playoff team. Other than that, 2005, they had to win 6 in a row to get in. 2007, that after Sean's death, they had to win 4 in a row. 2012, they had to win 7 in a row. They were 3 and 6.
Yeah.
Even 2015, they had to win 4 in a row at the end. God, when you start thinking about this, it's like this team only has made the playoffs when it's kind of struck, gold at the end of the year. Like even 2020, I mean, it was 7 and 9, whatever. But yeah, this feels totally different. And I'll add that it feels a lot different because you've got a legitimate quarterback. And in so many of these runs, you felt like even if they got there, what were they going to do? And I'm not saying that I feel like they're going to make a deep run if they get there now, but I kind of feel like this is the beginning of something, of a sustained period of having good seasons and being relevant. We haven't been relevant in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that. Kev, in the news cycle, if you will, the last couple of weeks, we've been back onto the stadium. We've got the logo back in the news. I'm curious in your mind, and George, I'm curious your thoughts too, but what rank the importance, stadium, logo, and nickname. And by the way, it's really nice to not have to include owner in that deal, right? Like at least we know we've got that set.
Yeah.
But I'm curious in your mind, what's the most important? Rank the 3 in importance, Kevin.
Me first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like this is a very personal and subjective thing for
It
all
is.
of us, especially all of us that have really been a part of the fan base and have felt it. I talk all the time. It's like I personally couldn't care less about the person that isn't a fan, just arrived in the market in the last several years and wants to lecture those of us on how we should feel. That's embarrassing for those people. For me, I don't care if you've been a longtime fan. I don't care how you feel. I respect how you feel. I mean, I don't care how other people feel.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I respect it if you've felt it like we have. For me, it's the name and
Really?
the branding, before the stadium. But I'm also at that point where I don't go to a lot of games anymore, Like by the time they open up the new stadium, that's going to be 6 or 7 years from now. It's like I barely go to games now. I go to Terps Hoops games. That's the best event in town you can go to when they got a big game in College Park. Other than that, I like watching football, our team, and then everything else and not dealing with traffic. But I think that the name and the brand still is a big effing deal.
That's him or is that you?
That's him. Yeah, I think he's going for a moment. So hopefully
That's
I can
okay.
jump in until he gets back, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah.
And I'll ask him
Yes.
when he comes back, but like there's definitely a difference between the name, you know what I mean? Like with getting one or the other, would that in your mind be any different? So I guess
So
let's just get your opinion first.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, actually, I want to say my opinion. I'm going to say my opinion now, but hopefully it comes back. I want to have some
Yeah,
dialogue
yeah,
with
yeah.
him. For me, I think the stadium is more important, Doug. Like I'm born and raised around here. I've been a fan my entire life. I'm 41 years old. I don't know if I look that. Hopefully, I don't look that. But I'm 41 years old. I've been following the team since I was a little kid. And granted, the Redskins name definitely has some nostalgia, some importance to me, and it's what I grew up on. But for me, I always tell people for me, the most important part is Washington Redskins, right? Like I'm a DC sports kind of guy. My logo is a DC logo. So no matter what the team's name is going to be, I'm going to follow the team. I want a stadium I want to be proud of because I'm sick of being an embarrassment across the league, right? I think our training facilities, I think our stadium, I think we have free agents that don't come to our team because they're like, you know what, this is subpar. This is a crappy place. I don't want to be here. I want something to be proud of, and I think it'd be nice to basically have a great stadium, whether it's in Landover or in DC. I want it to be a dome because I go to these games. I don't like the poor weather. Maybe I'm a wuss. I don't like the rain. I don't like the snow on me. So I wouldn't mind having that location there. So the stadium is very, very important to me. But then, then I would probably say the logo. Like I do think the actual Redskins logo, I would love to have that back on the nostalgia gear because I do think it's a part of our history. But I'm not necessarily married to the name particularly. As long as it's representing our team, it's something I'm proud of. I just don't like the turnstile of names. Again, if we went from Washington Warriors immediately, I would have been happy with that. But I don't want to change the name every couple of years because I feel like that at that point it becomes a little bit embarrassing, in my opinion. So,
Kevin, do we got you back? We don't see your picture, but if
I can see you guys.
Interesting.
And I can hear you.
Well,
I haven't lost you. I don't know what happened.
That's all right. Well, we'll just roll like this then. But we can hear you. Sound great. So
absolutely.
Yeah, let me just see if I don't know.
That's okay. Kevin, can you separate the two, the name and the logo? Like, would it be good enough to get the logo back? I mean, I guess I can understand where there'd be a portion of people that would find the name offensive. I'm not here to have that conversation with you because I know where you stand on that, and people know where I stand on that. But with the logo, getting the logo back, which seems much more realistic, like how much would that fill the tank up for you?
Oh, the logo and the name are completely different. But keep in mind, I mean, the logo's never been accused of anything, that borders on insensitivity or anything like that. I don't think that a lot of people know that. We obviously know that, but I think a lot of people that kind of just follow this story barely on the outside looking in, they don't understand that the logo's actually not, there's no controversy over it at all. Right. But here's the thing. Like, if they do change the name, what are they going to change the name to? If it's something that doesn't have any, because it's not going to be Redskins, guys. That's not going to happen.
No, correct.
It's just not going to happen. The league won't allow it. So unless there's Native American association with whatever they pick, if they end up changing it, why would you use that logo on a name that has nothing to do with, Native American imagery or, it's just, so I love the logo. I would love to have the logo back. I mean, to be honest with you, like Warriors, something like that, but they lost the trademark on that a few years ago.
I was going to say, Kevin, they had the opportunity to do that like a decade ago, right? Like there was a little bit of groundswell for changing.
Yeah. Dan always had Warriors in his back pocket as that was the move if for whatever reason it ever came to, they were forced to give up the name. But I was told like a few years ago, they just let certain trademarks lapse and, they were so discombobulated in that building. They were not buttoned up in a lot of ways. So whatever. And it was going to be very costly to go down that path. Maybe the new owners will try to go down that path. I don't know. To be honest with you, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm so into this season right now.
Yes.
I don't feel this topic as much as I typically do. I would love more than anything else to see just the old uniforms come back, even if it's the W on the helmet. Bring the old uniforms back. And, Doug, I think I've said this to you before. I'd go with Washington football team and let us call them the Skins or the Burgundy and Gold or whatever. But I don't know where their mindset is now. I know that from the beginning, they intended on doing something with it, that most of the large ownership group doesn't necessarily love what they have here. But what if they go on a deep run in the postseason?
We talked about that.
As the Commanders.
Yeah.
So those are the things. And in their defense, there's no easy answer to this question. Not everybody's going to be happy. Yeah, George.
Yeah, quick follow-up with that. So we had Al Galdi on our show the other day, great guest as well. We talked about potentially having the logo back, maybe potentially for like a throwback game or something to that effect. Do you think that would be a good idea for Washington to look into, or do you think that's more like antagonizing, right? Like, hey, we get to have this, Native American logo on our helmet twice a year or once every couple of years. Would that be something to kind of celebrate? Or would that be more like, hey, if we can do this once every couple of years, why even do it at all?
I mean, antagonizing to whom? People we don't care about,
True.
I mean,
Absolutely.
There's nothing more antagonizing than the tomahawk chop.
Absolutely. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Talk about a disconnect from where we've been. Like, how is that not an issue with all of the people that have felt this has been an issue here? No, I mean, it certainly wouldn't be antagonizing to those of us that care, and those that do care would have to swallow it and understand there's absolutely nothing wrong with the logo. Like, that's never been, an issue with anybody. But yeah, I'd love to see it come back as, an alternate thing.
The great line, Kevin, and I know you know this. They were talking to Doc Walker one time about the logo. And he said, when I first got to DC, I was pumped. I thought there was a black guy on the side of the helmet.
I love Doc. That's the best.
That's a Doc answer.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
Kevin, you're right. There's exciting football being played. So let's get to talking about it. Oddly enough, I went and checked. This will be the first game they play this year in a dome. I'm excited to see the speed on turf.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about, depending on the kicker situation, is that maybe we can make some kicks consistently. Like indoors,
hopefully,
it's just a little bit easier than FedEx, than Northwest. But yeah, I mean, there have been some fast tracks, this year.
Yes.
But you're right. The first time indoors and watching number 5 fly around on Sunday could be fun. The Saints aren't terrible. But if you end up getting Jake Haener and you get, maybe somebody other than Alvin Kamara, because he's, been ill the last couple of days. I don't know how it worked out today, Friday, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think they'll be dynamic offensively Sunday, and it'll be fun to watch in that environment.
So Kevin, recently, sorry, I think we have the same question. Yep. So recently, Washington lost Austin Eckler and Noah Brown, which is, 10 touchdowns, over 500 yards of offense. Are you concerned that Washington is going to miss a step because they're missing these positions, and who has to step up as a result?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to miss both of those guys. I think Eckler more. I think Eckler was incredible change of pace. I didn't even mind when he was in there on first down. And then he was excellent as a kickoff returner. I think he's still third among kickoff returners with like more than 10 returns.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And Noah Brown was a favorite for Jaden. He was targeted in terms of a percentage of the snaps he was in there as much as Terry was, as much as, Zach Ertz was for the most part. And had big, radius, was a taller guy, got separation. There were some drop balls, but there were some big plays. He drew a bunch of pass interference penalties during the course of the year. So I think they'll miss both of those guys. Yeah, I like the KJ Osborne signing. I don't think we'll see him this week, but I'm wondering if they signed him and maybe they're bringing Crowder back because they're going to move McCaffrey maybe more outside, and you'll have another option inside with Osborne or maybe with Crowder at some point. I want to see McCaffrey do more because I feel like he's capable of it. But Noah Brown was a really good, late summer ad for this team. He was a contributor, and Eckler was a big-time contributor. Don't you think at one point, guys, this season, early in the season, if we were to rank the important offensive players, that Eckler would have been number 2 behind Jaden Daniels? At one point, maybe in October, late October, he was really good, and they're going to miss him.
Well, not just that, but you mentioned it, Kevin. His contribution in the kick return game was huge.
Yeah.
How have you found the new dynamic kickoff?
Not as not as troubling as I thought. I thought
Okay.
Right.
for sure I was not going to be able to get used to it. I thought for sure it was going to look so hideous and it was going to look weird. I think the bottom line though is it really hasn't accomplished what the NFL hoped it would accomplish, which is more returns.
Returns,
Returns are up, but not anywhere near where they wanted them to be. But yeah, it's been fine. I mean, it's not as distracting as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. It seemed odd at first. I think maybe I kind of like it now that I've gotten used to the idea of it. You who is the big who which one are they gonna miss more on Sunday, Eckler or Brown?
I think down the stretch, more Eckler.
I agree.
And I think part of that too is that we're going to see more 2 and 3 tight ends with them down the
Yes.
stretch. I think here.
I agree. So, and Kevin, to follow up on that, sorry to interrupt, Doug. I think they're going to probably rely more on the run game. Brian Robinson, the 12 personnel, 13 personnel as well. I'm curious your thought on this, right? You talked about Luke McCaffrey. Ben Sinnott's also a good potential option in the third round, other prospect to use as well. Do you have any interest or do you take any calls this morning about Odell Beckham? I know that he was kind of a hot topic today on Twitter and social media. Do you have any interest with him at all, or do you think he's way past his prime?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it on the radio show.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I didn't really watch that much of him. Clearly he didn't produce much in Miami. But if you go back and you remember that 21, contribution he made to a team playing big games down the stretch, and then how good he was in the postseason. I remember Cooley saying when they added Beckham, he said they're going to win the Super Bowl. And I said, really? And he's like, yeah, it's just going to make it so much easier for everybody on offense when you have somebody like that for Stafford. But I don't know if he's that anymore. I don't think he is. But would he be any worse than what they have? I don't know. And then this group has proven they're not going out and just signing anybody. You have to you got to be part of what they're trying to build from a culture standpoint. Osborne is that.
I agree.
The Osborne signing, KJ Osborne has been a beloved teammate everywhere he's gone. So, yeah, I don't know about it. I don't know about OBJ.
I'm out on OBJ for
Me too.
whatever that's worth. I mean, talent wise, is he better than everybody we got not named Terry McLaurin? Possibly, but I mean, he hasn't been productive in several years. He certainly wasn't productive with the Ravens last year. Forget who he was with the year before that. So, no, I think you write it out with who you got, and they'll have to look next year at making that room a little bit more diverse, and obviously add some talent to it. Kevin, in a lot of these games where the offense has struggled, you could tell right away that the offense was kind of stuck in neutral and they couldn't find out how to get it out of gear and into the right one. What do they got to do to start off hot on Sunday?
I mean, when you think about that Tennessee game, they had 12 3rd and 3s or shorter.
Yep.
So quick game and running game and just staying ahead of the chains and staying in good down and distance, which they weren't in against Dallas, which they weren't in at times against Philly and against Pittsburgh. I mean, look, when you think about that 3-game losing skid, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are really good. And they had leads in the fourth quarter against both of those teams. And if not for, maybe a half an inch on that Ertz play at the end of the Pittsburgh game, they may have won that game. The Dallas game, was not great in the moment. But, every good team has a dud here and there. And, you hear people say, well, they haven't, and I've said it, they haven't beaten any winning teams. Every win is against a team with a losing record, but they haven't played many winning teams either. They've only had 4 games this year against teams with currently winning records, and they were 0 for 4, but they were really close in all of them. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Philly, and Tampa. Maybe with the exception of Tampa. I think it's all about, I love when they start off with a lot of quick stuff. I think it gets Jaden into rhythm. I think their receivers are good, after the catch, guys like Diami and Terry, obviously. And the drop back stuff can come, but it's got to come off play action after you've established good down and distance. You move the chains once or twice on a drive. Once you get that first down, the odds of a successful ending to the drive are so much higher in terms of just completing it, obviously. Yeah, I think it's down distance and staying ahead of the chains with quick game and a run game. And when I say run game, that includes the quarterback.
That's right. They've used Diami a lot more in that screen game, and it's been really effective. I'd actually like to see him use him a little bit more in the screen game, because then you can run some, different routes off of it. You could fake the screen and then get downfield with him. It'll be interesting to see how much more usage he gets with the other Brown out.
I think more, definitely.
I
and I think we've already seen that they like the ball in his hands.
I agree.
He is, in addition to being bubble screen guy, they're taking some shots with him, and you're getting the occasional reverse or fly sweep, with him. He's got really good speed, and he's got really good speed in tight spaces. We're starting to see the Diami Brown that Scott Turner was the one that really fell in love with him and really liked him in that draft. And Cliff's starting to figure out that he can give him something. And look, they don't have a lot of other options either, after Terry. So I think we were going to see a lot more of him anyway with Noah Brown.
I agree. I'm on the record. I think they're going to re-sign him, by the way. I think he's going to be a depth option for Washington moving forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's some big decisions to make, certainly on defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you brought up defense. I'm assuming, like the rest of us, you're excited to see Lattimore on Sunday. It sounds like maybe Quinn actually said today that it will be BSJ to the bench. A couple of weeks ago, I thought that would have been crazy, but I guess Sainristil's just been too good to move back into the slot.
Yeah, and he has been,
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Lattimore. I can't wait to see if that helps them with their weakness, which is stopping the run. Like on Sunday, as an example, you can play single high and play some man coverage with a guy like Lattimore against Jake Haener, and Valdez Scantling is out there. He's actually had some really big plays, but when they've done that before to sell out to stop the run, it's big risk on the back end because they don't have the players there to do it. But with Lattimore, you could see that be one of the kind of ancillary effects, is that they could become a better run stopping team with the ability to play more man coverage behind it.
Wagner has been incredible. Another decision they'll have to make: if Kevin Sheehan was running the team, would he be back next year?
Yeah, he would.
100%.
Shin would, and Ertz would. Like three big time players and leaders. And, Ertz on a team friendly deal. Wagner hasn't shown any signs of falling off. I also think that Luvu has benefited significantly with him out there. And I think Luvu's a real talent and a real star in the making. I think he might make the Pro Bowl this year with Wagner.
I think so too. Absolutely.
Yeah, the irony of that is that they, haven't been great as a defense, overall. But give me Wagner back. Give me Chin back, who I think's been a really good player, and he's stayed healthy this year, which he hasn't prior to this year. And let's build out some of the other areas, O-line, second receiver, maybe another back. That's one of those interesting
I agree.
off-season conversations we're going to have. As much as I love number 8, he's got to be available more.
I agree.
For them. And we've seen the impacts of like elite backs now, and a guy like Ashton Genty, if he's there at 20 or 21 or wherever they end up picking, could be interesting.
I'm with you. To me, you've got to almost draft running back and wide receiver every year now. Like the way it's set up, the way wide receivers are getting paid. Like you can get a wide receiver in the second and third round. A lot of these guys that are performing really well in the league are second and third rounders. Now, I'm not suggesting that they don't go out and get T. Higgins. That's, again, a kind of a different conversation for a different day. But in the world that we're currently in, where receivers at the top of the market are 20, 25, $30 million, you just got to draft them every year. And we know what happens to running backs on second contracts. So Yeah, I definitely think they've got some decisions to make there. I mean, I like B-Rob back, but they've got to add to the room.
Yeah. Jamar Chase is probably about to become a $40 million a year.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Going crazy this year.
And
He's
that
going to top Jefferson's contract.
I think so too.
and
I
that
agree.
will be really interesting to see. It'll be try to think if there's anybody else doing it right now where you'll have a quarterback up towards the top of the market and then a receiver that sets the market. And it's like all of a sudden you look around trying to find, money under the couch covers, trying to figure out how to pay everybody else. It's an interesting thing that's happening right now in the league with wide receivers.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, Kevin, I've got up here. I went to underdog. Let's do a little over unders before we get out of here. They've got Terry McLaurin receptions at 5.5
against New Orleans. I'll go over. I mean, I'm just hopeful that they'll have a big day offensively, but I think a lot of it could come on the ground. But yeah sure, over 5.5. How many games does he have with 6 or more catches this year?
I'll look it up while you guys are talking. I'm not sure. I'll take a look at that.
It's probably not as many. It's odd. It's probably not as many as you think, right? And for a guy that's had 6 or 700-yard or 90, I think one of them is 98 and the rest are 100. Like he gets a lot of them on big chunk plays.
He has 5 games over 5.5 catches. Yeah.
And his biggest game was his last game in terms of receptions. He had 8 receptions against Tennessee.
Yeah.
8 targets.
Yeah.
The number is 212.5 passing yards for Jaden Daniels.
Ooh, I'll go under that because they run the ball. They've got a lead, maybe. Keep running the ball. 212. I'll go under.
I agree.
It always feels like quarterbacks are hitting 300 now, but it's odd when you actually look at them to see guys going over 250 on a regular basis. It feels like in this modern era of scoring that yards are way up around 300 a game, and that's just not how it is.
There are a few guys that are doing it week in and week out, but the rest, like Jaden he's got a lot of games over 212. Yeah, he had 206 in the game against Tennessee. If you have a game like Tennessee, hopefully there's not a requirement to keep throwing the football.
16.5 rushing attempts for Brian Robinson Jr.
Over. I mean, fingers crossed. He's healthy. Stays healthy. Doesn't come out of a game. That seems like that probably is a high number for him. I don't play a lot of these prop bets. I'm going to guess that's a high number for him. I'll go over. He had 16 against Tennessee. But I mean, it'd be great to see Rodriguez at the end of the game.
That's what I was
with
going
a
to say. That's only fear. Exactly.
Yeah.
They've got Zane Gonzalez on here. Is he going to play Sunday? Have you heard anything more? Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Greg Joseph and I'm sure it's because they think there's a chance Gonzalez won't be ready to go.
They signed him on a 1-week deal. If the new guy gets in, there'll be 7 kickers on the season, I believe.
Jesus,
which is crazy to think that like
7.
It's way up there.
Cade York.
Yep.
Seibert, right? Gonzalez. Who else we have? This guy Joseph. That's 4, right?
There's one more. There's at least 2 more. That I guess that they either signed to the practice squad. Maybe it wasn't on-field action, but
they have like a Latin-based name in this Springtown in training camp. I forget his name now too.
For a position they thought they had locked up just a month ago, it's been amazing how many kickers they've had to go through. Jake Haener sounds like he'll get the start. They've got 184.5 passing yards for Jake Haener. Kev, we still got you there? What do you think the score looks like realistically, George?
So I think for our prop bets that we do every single week, I have us winning, I believe it was 24-13. I think it's hard. I want to be aggressive. It's like It is hard. I have PTSD as a Commanders fan, as a Redskin fan, Doug. Like my question to you, I was going to ask to Kevin as well, is why is it different? We had a 10-day layoff between the Cowboys game and having a backup quarterback. How's the difference going against the Saints? I'm hoping the team is hungry coming off this bye week and ready to go. I'd love to blow them out of the water, but at the same time, I'm being somewhat cautiously optimistic, if that makes any sense.
It'll be interesting, right? It's our first time seeing a Dan Quinn-led team after a bye week. They were under the old group, they were not good after bye weeks. I know we tried not to go backwards too much, but it'll be interesting to see what Quinn and company look like after a bye week, what kind of wrinkles they put in offensively. They keep saying there's more to the playbook, so it'll be interesting to see what they kind of what it looks like. Kevin, if we got you back, let's get out of here like this. What do you think the score looks like on Sunday?
First of all, Dan Quinn, 16-4 in his final 4 games.
There's a juicy nugget. All right.
I like
Atlanta.
that. Okay.
I don't know, 24-17. It's a touchdown for a backdoor Saints cover at the very end. Like it's not a close game, but they, get a touchdown at the end to make it, to get the cover plus the 7.5, something like that. I think it'll be a comfortable, we're not a no sweat win where the score doesn't necessarily reflect how they dominated.
Hope so. Kevin, before you walk out of here, I would be remiss to without throwing these questions as a Maryland guy. Going into this, Derek Queen, how good is Derek Queen right now? And do you think that Maryland's going to put any big impact on the Big Ten this year?
I definitely think they're going to have an impact on the Big Ten this year. I think it's a totally different team from last year. And Queen right now is a top 10, top 15 pick in the draft next year.
Absolutely.
And he's as good as anybody they've had in a long time. He's so skilled. He's so confident. And their point guard, Gillespie, is spectacular, too. This is a really good team. Should have beaten Purdue.
Absolutely. I was just about to say that. That was awesome. Fantastic.
And that would have been a big win. So I think this definitely looks like a tournament team and maybe a team that'll contend for the, top 3-ish, top 4 in the Big Ten this year.
I agree. 5 stars are different. So Derek Queen definitely standing out a little bit.
Yeah.
One more Maryland question for you. Mike Locksley, man. So I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on him. Excellent recruiter. I think we have the number 2 defensive end of the entire nation coming to us next year. He can recruit his ass off, but our team hasn't really produced on the field right now. We had a fall off this year. We have Malik Washington coming next year. Are you a Locksley guy, or how do you feel about him?
So I am a Locksley guy. I think that, but in part because I know how much worse it can be.
Yeah.
And they had 3 straight seasons of, going to bowl games and winning bowl games. And this year was a step back because they changed the quarterback. They had Leah Tunga for 4 years, and he's got to get the quarterback right. And if he does, it's a different landscape now because there's no Big Ten East anymore. So you got a chance. Talent's everything. He can recruit. You got a top 25 class coming in this year. You mentioned Malik Washington. You mentioned what they did for 26 already. The number 1 player in the class of 26 committed. Now, will he actually show up?
I know. Please, I'm counting the days down. Exactly.
Yeah. But I like Mike. I think that he can pitch this program, which really is a tough program to pitch at times.
I agree.
As much as anybody can. Maybe needs some coordinators and maybe a little bit more autonomy with the coordinators. We'll see. But I hope it works out for him.
Me too.
Well, and I don't know the exact numbers. I won't pretend to throw it out there, but Maryland's spending is way at the bottom. You just cannot win in college football anymore if you don't pony up. I mean, that's just the way it is now, and they don't spend very much at all.
Their NIL spending this year, last year is near the bottom of all the Power 4 schools, and that's a problem. And look, the bottom line is, and there are only a dozen of these among the Power 4, but it's a basketball first school. People care about basketball and they do football. But it's the most revenue, so you have that kind of battle going on with where that money goes and how it gets doled out. And but I like Mike, and I think he's a first-rate human being, and I think he's a better overall, when you factor in everything that's required of a college football coach, better than most of our fans think he is.
Absolutely. I can see that.
Kevin, we appreciate you, buddy. These are always great with you. Enjoy your holidays, man, and we'll catch you down the road.
You guys as well. Thanks for having me. Sorry about the technical stuff.
No
All
worries.
good. All right, thanks, Kevin.